Guests on Keel appear via the Jack Spring Electric Keel Newsmaker Hotline, starting off our week, starting off our Monday with Caddo Parish Sheriff Steve Prator. Hey, Mr. Steve, welcome back to Keel. How you doing this morning?
Well, thank you. It's always good to talk to you.
Thank you for taking off your Homeland Security mandated mask. Well, you are, for all intents and purposes, the Homeland Security boss for this region, and you have now decided that Caddo Parish deputies will be wearing masks all the time. When, where, what's the plan?
That's correct. I was thinking about it Saturday morning, and I said, who is more important right now, the doctors, nurses, and first responders, and it's just the right thing to do. I care about the deputies and their health and their families and the public, and so we need to set the example, and I think masks are the thing to do. And so I mandated it.
What you got? Is it the N95s? I forget the specific term. Where did you get them? Is there a shortage? How many were you able to get hold of, et cetera?
Well, we have a number of N95s, and of course we save them for people, deputies, and our medical staff, which is quite large at the CCC, and we save those as best we can for people that are going to be around positive patients that have come back and the test is positive. Then we have surgical masks, quite a few of those also. And we've also asked the public, anybody that wants something to do, that needs something to do, and you want to make masks, then we'd be glad to take them. The good thing about the homemade masks, and they are just as effective as some of the other masks that you wear, not the N95s, but some of the others, but you can wash them. And the deputies need 2 or 3 masks at each shift. It's not like you get one and then you use that for weeks. It's not that kind of situation. And so I thought that was a good way to allow us to have our masks, the ones that we have, and we can make sure our medical folks have them. And then we can use the ones that are made by the community, and it gives us a connection to the community. And I know the deputies they're excited about it. They can have plenty of masks and wash them, and it's just a way to show the deputies you appreciate them, and the deputies are excited about getting them. And you can, if you are so inclined and you want to donate some masks, then you can drop them off at any of our 3 substations from 10 to 12, Monday through Friday.
Sheriff, you've got 12 deputies, I believe, that have tested positive, and 42 that are in quarantine. 54 that are out of service. How are you covering?
That's correct. Well, we made provisions when it first started several weeks ago. I started meeting with my staff, and they came up with schedules to where we would keep half roughly speaking, half of our people, we would keep them in reserve and not let them be around the other half as far as working. We've kept our reserves and our auxiliary force. We've told them they can't work right now, and there's a reason for that. In case we need them later, we don't want them contaminated by something. And so we've made provisions, and we're, believe it or not, we're still doing fine. And we're able to serve, and we're going to be there no matter what it takes. And I'm just real proud of the way the Sheriff's Office has planned for this and the way we've responded.
Mr. Steve, the ones who tested positive, if you're allowed to share, how are their conditions? How are they feeling?
All of them are doing fine. And as far as when I say fine, that's a relative term. They're not hospitalized or anything like that. They're waiting for their symptoms to go away, and then we'll get them back to work just as quickly as we can. And the same thing with the ones that are quarantined. And they're anxious to get back to work. Nobody wants to be sidelined. And so everybody's doing good. And I'm real glad about that. The inmate at CCC that was hospitalized, that inmate is doing okay. And we've worked out a deal with the Department of Corrections to where that person, once they're symptom-free, they won't be in our custody any longer. They'll be released from the hospital, and then the one prisoner that's in the negative pressure room at CCC, he'll be quarantined, and then he'll be returned to the population. It's one particular pod of 142 that we're paying real close attention to. But now every prisoner, every inmate at CCC is issued a mask, and they're wearing their masks, and they have the products they need to do the right hygiene. And so we're doing everything. We're taking the temperatures twice a day, and we're talking about 1,200 inmates. So we're talking about a big operation.
Let me ask you this.
And
Caddo Commissioner Stephen Jackson put a post up saying that it cost the commission $33,000 to house an inmate and $3,600 to place someone on an ankle monitor. You know that some areas are letting non-violent offenders out of jail right now as a result of this medical crisis. Is that something you're looking at?
No, we're so far ahead of that curve. 3 weeks ago, we started that process with the judges and the DA.
Okay.
And we so far we have let 100 or a little over 100 out on ROR bonds. Just the judges said these are the ones that we think we can let out, so they did that. We've got about 50 on electronic monitoring now, which is something fairly new for us. We've made huge strides in that way before it was even recommended. We saw that coming, and so that was the pretrial detainees. I don't want to tell all the parents or grandparents or brothers and sisters, and we don't treat the inmates out there like they're second class. Okay, so many of them, in fact, most of our 1,200 out there are pre-trial and haven't been found guilty. And so we understand it's like a huge cruise ship out there. They can't go anywhere. And so we have to be as diligent as we can and take the precautions that we need to do. And we're doing that. We're taking care of those folks out there. It's not like a kennel and we're treating them like animals or something. It's not like that at all. We care about their health and we care about taking care of them. And that's just what we got to do. And so we're doing that.
Steve, the growing trend in a lot of communities seems to be curfews, or if not a mandated, a strict curfew, at least the suggestion of one. What are you thinking about that?
Well, I've thought about that and thought about it. And I don't see that would do us change any behaviors right now. We don't have, of course, we do have some cruisers going around. I've talked to the police chief about that, and we're taking all sorts of actions to curtail that. But as far as the curfew goes, you must understand that we cannot enforce our way out of this thing. And if you put a curfew in Caddo Parish, and Shreveport, of course, is Caddo Parish, if you put a curfew, we don't have enough deputies, we don't have enough police officers to adequately stop every car and find out what's going on and what they're doing. And so right now we're not planning a curfew. I don't know that would do that much good. It would force everybody into a particular time frame to have to get out and get groceries or the critical things. And of course, we all know the arguments about essential businesses and the definitions. That's a ever moving animal, and it's very hard to enforce. And the governor's order, although I don't know how you would tighten it up any. I'm not being critical of him, but the list that we have, you can almost put any business into that and justify it. And then there's the enforcement end of it. What do? You can't put people in jail. You could write them a citation, and then they could continue doing it. It's just a misdemeanor. So what it is in law enforcement, it's a difficult position. If you rob a store, we know what we're going to do with you. All right, we're going to put you in jail. You're going to have met certain criteria. We're going to have so much evidence that we're going to have to be submitted in order to have you convicted. With being a non-essential business or too many customers in a store or something, it's just a difficult thing. So we don't want to get into a situation like that any more than we already are.